Man, Bitcoin over $11,000 today, 11/29/2017. I got Drew Phillips on the line, and our interview was actually supposed to be yesterday. And I was going to do the introduction saying, we went straight through 9,500 and now we're over $10,000, and it got delayed by just 24 hours. And here we are seeing $11,000 Bitcoin. This is unbelievable. Even the most bullish of the bulls are being shocked by how well Bitcoin is doing just in the last 12 months since the beginning of 2017. And of course, all that's been going on in the altcoin space. Drew Phillips of AntiWarcom. We're going to get to know him here in this call. Drew, thanks for coming on the line with me today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Kenneth.
Drew, I hate to say it, but there's just so many guys who've been calling Bitcoin a bubble. And they're saying bubble now. I mean, I read these Bloomberg articles or Market Watch articles, and it says bubble. Every month it's a bubble. And I understand, especially with what we're seeing now, if you want to call it a bubble, but it's very disingenuous, as people have been saying that at $50, $100 Bitcoin, $500 Bitcoin, $1,000 Bitcoin, all the way up. And then eventually they'll be right. But I think it's a little disingenuous, just all these people saying bubble, bubble, bubble now. What are your thoughts on just what is going on in Bitcoin?
Well, I don't think bubble's the right word. I think that 10,000 is certainly impressive, and it rose from 1,000 or say 2,000 to 10,000 fairly fast. So maybe there's room for a correction there or a pullback, but I think long term it's certainly going to go higher. So I don't think bubble's the right term for it, but certainly a wild swing in the last so many months.
Crazy.
And it might make you a little nervous, or you might want to take a little profit, or something. But enjoy the ride, and if it's all gravy for you, then just sit back and enjoy.
Sure. Yeah, you can decide to hold your Bitcoin as currency and just ride it for the long haul and treat it like a wealth storage vehicle. Some people are certainly going to buy low and sell high, and if you're in that camp, you have to accept that you're not going to call the bottom perfectly and you're not going to call the top perfectly. And if you've been buying over the last however long, you're up. So congratulations to you on that. And, there's nothing wrong with a profit. Drew, so tell us about how you first got introduced to Bitcoin. You were telling me some interesting stories. I guess we go back a few years. We met at that Libertopia conference a few years ago, and Bitcoin was $1? Talk about it.
Yeah, maybe $5 then, but just listening to libertarian circles and so on, and the radio shows, hearing about Bitcoin maybe as early as 2011, and not really fully understanding it back then, but at least finding it interesting. I've always been a silver bug and found alternative currency models interesting. So Bitcoin definitely was worth looking into. And 2011, heard a lot about it. Didn't really get involved. Knew a few people who were looking into it, and it didn't seem all that stable back then. It was hard to acquire it. It was hard to sell it. There, few and far between people interacting with it. But by 2012, I caught the bug, and I started buying some, and was able to get my hands on some of the first physical cassatious coins for $5. Was the first one I ever bought. And I think I bought a second one for 3 silver dimes, so that tells you what the price was. But just been really interested and playing along with it and going to events like that where we met in San Diego. The story was a friend of mine sold a ham sandwich for 1 full Bitcoin, and I sold Trace Mayer a $2 copper medallion for half a Bitcoin. So that's a $5,000 copper round. Then that assumes that I still have that half a Bitcoin. But money comes, money goes, and it's been wild. What I was saying off air is that I thought when I bought at $260 back in 2012, or 2013, I guess, or 2012, I thought maybe, am I the last sucker? Is this the bubble? Is this the top? $250. Wow, don't we all wish we could go back in time to that point and buy some Bitcoin? It messes with your mind psychologically. You don't know what to think, and nobody can predict the future. So we just have to sort of enjoy the ride.
We're all trying to optimize the move we're seeing in Bitcoin right now, and everybody. It's just our nature to want to sell at the top, and we don't want to miss out on future gains. But for your own sanity, you have to accept the good and accept that it's not going to be perfect. You're not going to, get your forked Bitcoin Cash and do the exact perfect thing and move it into the perfect altcoin that's going to go up the most. Or, I remember selling my Bitcoin Cash for $600, and then the day after it spiked to $2,700. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. It is what it is, right? But I'm happy that I wrote it out. I believe in Bitcoin long term. But yeah, let's get your thoughts on this. We're having a lot of craziness go on. We saw Bitcoin move up quite a bit as people got excited about these forks. At first, it was a problem. Bitcoin Cash spooked Bitcoin. The thought of it in August, And here we are in October, and everyone was just piling in and into November to Bitcoin to have exposure to these Bitcoin Gold and what was going to be the 2x fork. What are your thoughts on these?
Yeah, definitely the forks I can see why they're scary. This is a brand new technology that people don't really understand. This is an open source project. So a fork is not a bug, it's a feature, right, is what everyone says. So, but when you look at that, you don't know what that means. It's going to fork, it's going to split. Is this like a stock split? So I can see why you'd be scared. But then after it happened, everybody thought, well, that wasn't so difficult. Now we've got this Bitcoin Cash, and we have this great 10% boost on our speculation. But I think it's wonderful. I think it's a competition in the market, and there was a very long, drawn out debate on the scaling issue. It was very nasty. I think it's going to get worse before it gets any better. But in reality, I think the fork was a great resolution because it provides the option. One team says that this is our solution to scaling, the other team says this is our solution, and now the market gets to decide. We, the consumers, get to decide what we like better. And it's like I said, you make best decisions you can with the information you've got and hope for the best. But I'm positive. I'm pretty optimistic about the future. I think Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash are both here to stay. I don't think too much about the other forks. I think there's a lot of maybe scamish aspect to that, or maybe they shouldn't be taken as seriously. But I think Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash are definitely here to stay, and I don't particularly know which one is better at the moment, but I think they both have different features, and as consumers, we get to decide which one we want to participate with, or both.
Mike Maloney put an interesting video up talking about Bitcoin, and one of the things he said as a potential headwind for Bitcoin is the tax implications when people are having to sell their Bitcoin and pay the taxes, and it'll kind of perpetuate a sell-off in the Bitcoin space because they'll have to but in theory you have to pay your taxes after you sell, after you realize your gain. But I think his whole thing is that the government is going to come into the space and crack down on it. And as they do, there's going to be a lot of penalties and fees that people were not paying. And it'll perpetuate that tax sell-off even more. So, I don't know, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, might be a good time to point out that donations to anti-war, even in Bitcoin, are tax deductible. But I kid. The headlines that I've seen recently are that people aren't paying their taxes on their Bitcoin gains, and the IRS is quite perplexed as to why that is. And I don't know for sure about the anonymity, and we can talk about that. But I think there's a sentiment out there of people, and of course, disclaimer: everybody pay your taxes and be a good American. But some people think that they might have found a way to put some money somewhere where it's not as easily counted, and maybe they don't want to pay their taxes, or maybe they don't want to go down that road. And that's certainly what I've seen in the headlines. from the Coinbase story about the IRS asking for the records, is that they were scratching their head as why there were only some 800 people that bothered to file in, I think that was calendar year 2015. Well, there's certainly more than 800 people in the Bitcoin space at that time. So, let's be honest. People have never enjoyed paying taxes, and maybe they've found a way, and maybe they're going to get a nasty audit, and that's not going to work out for them in the end. But certainly people have that attitude, and people enjoy keeping their money and the fruits of their labor. So perhaps cryptocurrencies are providing that shelter for them. Well, time will tell.
Drew, is it possible that Bitcoin, as it is, the Bitcoin core, the one that Satoshi, put out, started the fire, and now the fire is just uncontrollable? Is it possible that this is the only cryptocurrency that'll come out that does not have a known founder? And will every other cryptocurrency ever be able to be traced to one person?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, certainly all these coins that have come after the founders are known. They're out there publicly, and it's definitely something that I think scares people when they get involved. Well, if I don't know who the owner is, the founder is, so on, how can we know what his intentions are? Certainly, Satoshi has all these. If Satoshi is still around or whatnot, has all this original Bitcoin that was mined, a massive amount that could be used to manipulate markets. So I think that leaves people it's a little unsettling with people. But I think that one thing that I've come to realize in the last few months is that Bitcoin is definitely, because it's the first, it has the network effect. It'll always sort of be, at least in the short term, the number one crypto, and why even Bitcoin Cash has been able to catch up so quickly, because it's what everybody knows. It's the brand name. It's the original. I don't think it matters who Satoshi is anymore. Perhaps he will come back, he or she, but I don't think it really matters. And I think that an anonymous factor actually helps Bitcoin, because the government can't pull Satoshi in front of a grand jury and say, why did you screw up the U.S. financial system and crush the banks? So. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe we'll see Satoshi reemerge next year. Maybe Satoshi has a comment on the scaling debate and will make his or her presence known.
Drew, are you a fan of any of the other cryptocurrencies, or is it just you're just kind of enjoying the ride as we go along here and excited about what's happening?
I definitely am a fan of other cryptocurrencies and definitely other digital assets, crypto assets, things that are doing things other than money. I'm a fan of this sort of decentralized internet idea. I really like Filecoin and stuff like that, just sort of in theory, not necessarily much for a speculation, but just what the technology brings. But yeah, certainly I like Zcash, I like Dash, I like Monero. And at Anti-War, we decided to take a couple of these other currencies, primarily the stuff that works as cash, primarily stuff that works as money, because it's easy to take a donation and it's easy to spend it. Some of the other stuff that's a little more complex was just not really immediately useful for us. But yeah, I think that there's definitely room for other cryptocurrencies, and we're definitely seeing an emergence of this top tier. Monero's doubled, Dash is up, Ethereum is up. So we're seeing that second wave of cryptos come, but of course Bitcoin still has the market share, although the dominance index is almost 50%, so it's losing some of that, but Bitcoin is still sort of king in the space.
So tell us about AntiWar.com. The domain itself is pretty self-describing, yeah. But if you would dive into it a little more and tell us what everyone should know about it. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, sure. So Anti-War has been around much longer than I. It's a 22-year track record of covering foreign policy from a non-interventionist perspective. Eric Garris and Justin Raimondo are the founders, dating back to the Clinton administration. And certainly the organization had its peak in, say, the mid-2000s under the Bush administration and the run-up to the Iraq War. And it's primarily a news journal, an online magazine, if you will. And 5 years ago, actually 6 years ago, the director of operations was a friend of mine, just in libertarian circles, and she asked me, "What is this Bitcoin?" Everyone keeps asking me if I'll take it, and I don't know much about it, and what can I do? And in 2011, I actually cautioned her, and I said, "I don't think this is very good because it takes 2 weeks to get money from Mt. Gox, and I don't know if this is very reliable." But by 2012, it had become a bit more reliable, and I was much more interested in it. And I twisted her arm and said, "You really should take Bitcoin donations. There's a lot of people out there who've made a little bit of money off of it, and they might appreciate this organization and your efforts and journalism efforts." And in 5 years ago now, at the time we're speaking, they decided to set up a first wallet and publish an address, and the staff was just blown away. They thought, well, we'll raise a few $100s, we'll sell it for cash, and we'll never have to talk about this again. And sure enough, within 72 hours, they raised $2,500, and all of a sudden wanted to know a lot more about Bitcoin. And from there, it's just been a wild ride. Anti-war staff are not day traders or speculators, and received a little at $10 a coin and sold it at $100 a coin because 10x is pretty good in 6 months, right? You'd think that was a good return. Little did anyone know it was going much higher. But like I said, anti-war's been around much longer than I have been involved with it, and I just sort of came on as to help with the Bitcoin stuff. And over the last 5 years, we've had some great support, and people like Roger Ver and many others have donated, and that's great. It's a different option. Of course, we take cash and credit cards and all that stuff, but at one point, it's public knowledge that the FBI was spying on anti-war staff, and that has a chilling effect on donors. Do you really want to run your credit card on a subversive website that is under the scrutiny of the government eye? And Bitcoin is not perfectly anonymous. We could talk about that, but it offers a little bit of discretion, and it offers a low-cost way for people to throw a few bucks in here and there, and we're it's a nonprofit organization. There's no government grant money. We're 100% funded by our readers. And we want to give them, options. And also, it's like I said, we added these new cryptocurrencies like Zcash. It's an opportunity to educate our readers about cryptocurrencies and the benefits of them, and why they might want to get involved. So
sure,
it's been a fun ride.
Talk to us then, if you would, about Bitcoin's anonymity. You mentioned that a couple times, and what are your thoughts on that? What do you have to share about that?
Well, that it's not perfect, and I think that in the early days that was really sold as a feature, that Bitcoin was anonymous, and we're learning more and more that it's not. There are, firms out there in the U.S. that are doing research on the blockchain, and they're trying to make correlations and say, this account belongs to this person, and if we can, put the dots together, then we can sort of track money. And people should have the ability to transact privately. I believe that. People should be able to donate to whatever organization they like, and not feel scrutiny from that. So we're at a point now where we understand that Bitcoin is not perfectly anonymous, and some of these other coins are trying to build those features in, and they're doing a decent job. It'll be a while before we see how that shakes out and what is the best option and how we can be anonymous, and there's a big learning curve there. Something like Zcash is not yet very user-friendly. It's hard to use, but it provides that anonymity. And I think that the price of those coins, those privacy-centric coins, I think shows that that's what people want, and that's why they're buying these coins, because they want to be able to transact privately and not let anyone know what they're doing. And not that they're doing anything nefarious. They just want their privacy.
Sure. Well, and the problem with a lot of this is that it stemmed from the financial crisis of 2008, and Bitcoin was birthed out of that. And we have situations in Venezuela and different parts of the world where there's capital controls. And because of what we've seen in other governments, people have resorted to cryptocurrencies to just get their money out before it goes worthless. And these are very real situations in certain parts of the world. I mean, I live in the U.S. here, and I know you do as well, where we deal with a certain level of stability that others have not necessarily had. So I guess it's easy to take that for granted, but it makes sense why a lot of people said, hey, I don't trust the government, and I need to have the ability to transfer wealth if I need to, if things get out of control. And that's the beautiful thing of cryptocurrency. It's nothing nefarious. It's just protecting your money. And the problem with the governments is that they've been so irresponsible that we have to do this. So it's just about being prudent, being prepared. That's why people like gold. That's why we're looking into cryptocurrencies. I know you've been an advocate for precious metals as well. Drew, if you would share some final thoughts here, and if you want to touch on precious metals at all, I'm actually curious in closing with that, because we're in a spot here with Bitcoin completely stealing the stage from gold and silver, and people are forgetting about it. And in fact, people don't like it anymore because it's just been such a boring investment since 2011. I mean, really.
Yeah, no. Right, it's ever since silver rang the bell at 50 back in 2011, right? It's been pretty boring. Roberts & Roberts Brokerage is a brokerage out of Pensacola. The owner's a good friend of mine. We've worked together over the years, and something that I'm reminded of at this point is in 2013-ish, when there was quote-unquote bubble, there weren't a lot of exchanges. The Bitcoin exchanges weren't very reliable. And when people were worried, they would go into precious metals. I know Amaji did a lot of business at this time because that was the best place to go with your crypto money, was into silver and gold, which was, as we all know, is real money. And it was difficult to get into, say, fiat and into your bank account through an exchange because they were very unreliable at the time. And now we're in a position where we have all these other options. We have all these other altcoins that we were talking about. So if you're worried that this is the top and you want to diversify, well, you don't have to go to dollars. You don't have to go to gold and silver. You can go to these alternative coins. But I say that because I hope that people at the last option on the table is to go back to dollars. Don't go back to dollars. If you want to lock in some value, I know gold's boring, but it's a great store of value. Take your crypto and go over and get some gold. But I get it. It's not as exciting. Crypto is very exciting, but it's also dangerous. Gold is easy, right? We know what a safe is. We know how to store gold. Storing crypto can be difficult. So I ask people, if you are taking some profit, go into metals, not dollars, because dollars are that's just the old world, and it perpetuates so much stuff. I call them war dollars. It's not where you want to be with your money. You want to be in precious metals or speculating in the various cryptos. That would be my non-investment advice for people.
Drew Phillips, everyone. Drew, if people want to learn more about you or AntiWar.com or how they can donate, just some final thoughts on where they can find you and follow up on the work you guys are doing.
Yeah, thanks, Kenneth, and I enjoyed the interview. AntiWars.com is the website. We're in our end-of-year fundraising drive. I know everybody asks for money, but like I said, we're 100% funded by our donors. So if you appreciate what we do and you want to send a few bits, find the cryptocurrency page there. We take Bitcoin Cash, Dash, and Zcash, and until the end of the year, the folks at Bitcoin.com are going to match up to $20,000 in crypto donations. So now's a good time to maximize your donation, and we certainly appreciate people's support, and we're very approachable and reachable if you want to know more about the organization.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for coming on.